welcome to Silver Filers. It's Emily Overton here again. This time I've got the wonderful Heather Jack. Um, Heather is a long time icon for me in the profession. I've always I would say I've looked up to her, but she's shorter than me, so um, looked up to her in a metaphorical view. Um, and but basically, I think very highly of Heather, and I'm awesome and so awfully excited about having Heather on the podcast today. Hi, Heather.
Hello, Emily. Thank you so much for that very kind introduction, and it goes with the famous "no pressure." Then, so I'll try and live up to your excitement.
No, I just think, like, personally, I think that you've done some really interesting things, and when I went self-employed myself, I kind of picked out certain people in the profession, say, I want to be just like them, and you were one of them.
Oh,
You
bless
don't
you.
know this, obviously. I'm just telling you new information. But it is one of the things. So you sit alongside the likes of Alison North, Claire Johnson, the like, without listing a bunch of names because I could go
Yeah,
on for a while. But there is like about probably on two hands worth of people that I think, you know what, I've seen what they've done, and I really like it, and I want to be like them.
cool.
And I wanted to take a moment with this vlog. I need to get the right terminology because I keep on calling it different things: podcast, blog, whatever. I don't care.
Terminology, eh?
Terminology, YouTube video, yeah. Silver filers. I tell you, silver
Yes.
filers, and basically the opportunity for anyone who's had over 25 years experience in the profession to basically get the opportunity to get them on video and have a chat with me, because I want to learn about more about where they came from, why they're here, and what they did that was so fantastic. Or do they feel like they've not done anything fantastic? You never know.
Mm,
I did have one recently, and he was just like, I haven't met a point, a pinnacle in my life yet. As soon as I
mm.
realized that point, I think I may as well just give up. And I was like, wow, okay, you're taking this a lot more seriously.
I'll try to be less serious and otherwise when there's a requirement for me to be serious, I can do serious, but generally
Yes, please.
yeah. I don't know if it look quite as wise as you does, but yeah. No, no, more than happy to
So,
discuss stuff.
with that in mind, Heather, how long
Yes.
have you been in the profession?
Well, it depends what you're regarding as a profession. If we're talking broadly information, then I've been in the profession for a heck of a long time because I actually started off as a librarian.
Mhm.
I did my postgrad in librarianship, and I started working for good old Renfrew District Libraries back in 1985. So that's a long time. And even before that, when I was at university doing my history degree, I spent the summers working in the university library, but I was doing things like shifting Pravda newspapers from one big filing system to another. It was
That just kind of bringing that into focus of number of years. So I was 33 last week, and I was born in 1988. So 36 years to the library.
let me see, so 86 to 2000. I'm very bad at arithmetic. Is that 30? So actually, I think we're talking, oh yeah,
As if you're
35 years.
asking me.
35 years. I wish you hadn't asked me that, Emily, because I don't like doing those calculations. Yes, they're scary
35
McCleary.
years, they're about 36, 35, something like that.
Although I have to say, and this just shows you, it was in my blood from the start, certainly at least a librarian, but as a child, I remember I loved the library. And I remember getting little bits of paper and sellotape and sticking them onto my Enid Blyton books, amongst others. So I was like classifying, I guess, from the age of 8. So, but that's probably taking it too far.
Just a bit.
Just a bit. It's been a while. Been a while. And like,
Yeah, I'm more talking about the career as such. Like,
I know.
I mean, I probably had like all children have an affinity with boxes. So,
Being inside, being Jack in the Box, that's my favourite bit of a box. Although I was a mean a cardboard box putter together in my days in the libraries, filling up those boxes. Or very, very long arms
my
carrying all those books.
my record, I think, was 13 seconds.
Ooh.
So I feel like we need to do this as
Oh,
an exercise. Be really good for another channel to do like the box putting
Oh,
together.
excellent. We could do a generation game, but in an information governance records management context. And on the conveyor belt tonight, we have Emily Overton with a box.
And the conveyor belt would just be like, you've got a retention schedule, you've got a asset register, you've got a,
Yes, indeedy.
and
Oh,
then you've
yes.
got the cuddly toy. Um,
No, that would have to be RMS beer, obviously.
well, yes, obviously, yes, yeah. Or we could just have Scott Salmons. He could be the cuddly toy.
That'd be fine.
Yeah,
Absolutely fine. Yeah.
I'd cuddle him.
Oh, bless. He's a very cuddly
Anyway,
person.
with
Yeah,
that
so yeah,
humor aside,
86. Yeah.
go on, Heather. Tell us a bit of who you are and what you do.
Do you want to, will I tell you my wee journey from libraries to
Oh
where
God,
I am now?
sorry.
Yeah,
I
okay.
completely like interrupted you there. I'm really sorry.
No
Um,
problem. Not at all. Because I think I don't know what you find with other people that you've talked to, but my journey has been, well, I guess the theme throughout has been information. There's no doubt about that, but it's been in various iterations. If we bear in mind that when I started in libraries, it was the brown issue system, so it was the wee paper tickets and so on. So there was no such thing as IT per se. Well, there was information systems, which was all big and hard and pointy. Um, so there was that, and so I absolutely digital was it was a whole new thing. Particularly, so I worked in the libraries from 86 through to around about 91. And at that point, I had had baby number one, and it was time to take a little change in direction for a variety of reasons. And I actually ended up being the part-time librarian for an IT company who did computer aided design. And they sold systems, they did courses, and they were helping draftsmen move from analog to digital world, basically. So, and they were starting to grow. And so we had piles of software, floppy disk. Hey, I remember those floppy disks, and books and so on. And I started off in that role, and I joined that company, basically saying, by the way, I don't know anything about computers. So my very first journey in there, I developed my own FileMaker database. OMG, um, for plotting all the stuff in there. So it started off as a
do
kind of librarian thing,
you
and
think
then
it
but it
still
just went
works?
broader. You what?
Do you think it still works?
Doubt it. I'm sure it's well obsolete now. But yeah, so what was quite good was I came in knowing nothing, and I found myself not scared of the technology, which I think has been quite useful. So a lot of what I do, we talk more about since I set up Indicate Records Management IG, the backdrop to it, because so much has been trying to do digital properly and still is, and get away from paper and still is.
Yep.
A lot of it
Yep.
was not being scared of technology. What's interesting now that the longer we progress, the harder I find it is to keep to know what level of understanding from a technology perspective I need to have in order to be informed and to collaborate with people in other disciplines, and knowing where, yeah, what that level of detail is required. And there's just so many things happening. So I would say in many ways that side's getting more challenging, and more complex, but also more exciting, because there's more and more exciting things that we can actually do with the tools compared to early days. But anyway, so I moved this IT company, um, and I started to do a whole kind of range of stuff with them around about librarian stuff and doing a newsletter and all sorts of things. And although they were in computer aided design, they developed what did they develop? A drawing management utility that actually Documentum was really interested in, because they didn't have a drawing management aspect to their system. And so they got really into that side of things. I wasn't involved in it, but they suddenly thought it would be really good to do simple document management. It was the aspiration was to do for, I say, just into for accountancy, but within a document management perspective. So we took on board a product which was Invu, which is a document management system. And they thought, oh, heaven was a bit of information. So I actually started to get into doing a bit of the pre-sales and consultancy and support, which was an amazing experience. And also doing like online training to people over in the States, because we got really quite quite a kind of fairly global coverage for a while. So I got a really, really brilliant experience learning as going and probably being in quite the leading edge of stuff without realizing it. So anyway, I worked for that organization for some significant time and was really enjoying it. But then unfortunately, company got a little bit big and it started to get smaller and make redundancies. And in 2003, my redundancy time came and that was it. I was made redundant and I had a mixture of relief because redundancy had been hanging over all of our heads for a time when it was a relief that that was now over, plus the fear factor of OMG, I don't have a job. And I wasn't like a quite financially inept personally in my life. So it's not like I had lots of dosh sitting there to back me up. But equally, I kind of decided, do you know what? Well, first of all, I could see that we had technology and we had information and documents and stuff. Um, but what we didn't have in businesses, but what we didn't have was someone who could interpret between what an organization needs in terms of managing information, and how that's translated into technology delivering it. Because the organization I worked for would describe, and Enview is a brilliant, brilliant system and believe still out there, but it was the technology, it does what it says in the tin. And I'd established, no, it's not the magic wand, actually. It's there as a tool. Um, and in the famous, who was it, Don Luders, it's one of my favourite slides that I show when he did a little blog that said, SharePoint is a tool, but you're not. And I always thought that was a great headline because at the end of the day, as human beings, we need to be working out what's needed, how is it needed, how do you then make it happen and keep it going. So I kind of thought there was a gap there between organisations needing to manage their stuff and technology that could be there to help with that, and someone in the middle to try and kind of translate. Um, I kind of saw myself as a 3-in-1 oil in a way. I'll talk about this about you get lots of cogs whirring and they're really, really good at whirring, but none of them really know they're supposed to collectively tell the time. So it's having someone in there to actually make those connections to help that kind of happen. And I kind of felt, and I love it. I absolutely adore what I do. So when I came out of this, I thought, you know what, I could go and get another job. The third part was, and not to say it by no means were all the people who have been managed by where else have their issues, but ultimately I thought I actually want to be the only difficult manager that I need to answer to. So and I have been known to take myself into disciplinaries and all sorts of stuff. The early days of the nights out for my company, I had to pull my own cracker because there was nobody else there, and that's not a euphemism for or otherwise for anything else. Um, so yeah, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to set up my own thing because I believe that there is a gap in the market there, and I'm really excited about kind of doing that. Um, my initial plans when I set up back in 2003 was really to go into small organisations and do a bit of strategy piece, if you like, and get them sorted, and then internalise it for them, and then potentially have retainers to go in and check everything's bubbling over. And that completely went down the toilet because suddenly freedom of information legislation in Scotland was in the course of coming in, and I can't remember how it happened, but I got a chance to go up and chat to the lovely people up in St Andrews, the Scottish Information Commission, and ended up through kind of tender process and stuff, helping them to establish kind of records management within their own organisation, which was both a really incredibly exciting first gig to get, but also terrifying. So I thought this could be the shortest business and career of my entire life. But that was really excellent. And the other first key contract I got, well, three. There was that one with the Scottish Information Commission. There was one with a housing association, because I'm quite involved in that in my previous organisation. I thought, go go out and talk to people at document management in areas that you know about. So it was a housing association that were going completely from paper to digital, partly because their filing cabinets were falling on people and that wasn't good for health and safety. So I did that project, which was grand. And the third one, because I was setting up my own business, I ended up, oh yeah. So I think it was Business Gateway
We
in
really are
Scotland.
going down a memory lane here, aren't we?
I promise you, I like to think there is a strand in it because you can see me accumulating things as I go without
Most definitely.
a
Oh, we might have some problems with signal.
traditional records management background. I've done this course for people building a business.
Heather, I think I've lost you a little bit.
Oh,
There we
I
go.
can
You're
hear
back.
you. Oh, we're back. We're back.
We're back.
Okay.
Yep, no worries.
Okay.
Just for the
That's
listeners,
fine. So anyway,
Heather did say to me just before we start, there's been a problem with some of the connection recently. So if we do lose her for a little bit, that's why. But hopefully we'll be able to keep hold of her as much as possible. Yeah,
yeah.
carry on, Heather. Sorry.
Excellentals. Right. No problem at all. So anyway, I ended up on this course for people, women and new women in new businesses, called Visionary Women, which was all immediately quite an exciting thing. Oh, visionary! I might not be now, but maybe one day. And actually, the organisation that they got to do that course recognised as I was going through it with them that they needed my services. So that was my third of
Hmm.
3 contracts in that kind of first year, and that was brilliant because actually that was a lot about knowledge management. They had 3 offices, 3 separate servers, shoved it all onto the one server, and realised that they still weren't able to find out who had done what and how. And that was fabby because I got to create like the baseline of getting things organized properly within this one server. But then it was about using the software they had to set up searches that would let you really interrogate the kinds of information they had. So if they had a proposal, they could just search on proposals and reports. And in there, they would find the fact that the office down in wherever down south had done exactly the same project for another organisation maybe 2 years before, and it was fabby. I remember doing a bit of training in this knowledge management thing that we had done, and halfway through, because I did a wee test, right? Someone tell me a proposal you've got just now. So they gave me some keywords, keyword in, and they found 3 documents they immediately needed to look at because it was really going to help the proposal. So they said, "Do you mind? I'm not staying for the rest of this. I need to go away and use this information." And that, talking about career highlights, those are the kind of highlights in my career when stuff like that happens. Or similarly in the housing association, when one of the members of staff was determinedly going to hang on to all their paper documents because they did not trust what we put in place. And each week I would come in, or fortnight, whatever, and she would say, Heather, come and look. And this week there was nothing on her 2 shelves because she'd finally trusted what I was doing. Yes. And
Woohoo!
and later on, a very similar thing to that when we were moving from shared drive stuff within a council department to a document records management system. Again, the person said to me in the training, there is no way these Bible spreadsheets of mine are only going to be in that system. So I'm keeping copies of them. So again, a week later, she says, Heather, come here. And she wanted me to watch her delete the copies she'd been keeping out with the system because actually it wasn't as scary as she thought it was going to be and she trusted it. Another moment. So
Yay!
you find me wobbling up. Can I just also say to the viewers, listeners, first of all, some people think I'm sitting on this immensely huge couch. This is my bed because this is where I do meetings since COVID. And secondly, because I get excited, you'll see this happening because that's usually when I'm getting so animated. So I'm sorry if by the end of this you all feel seasick. So I do apologise. It just
And
comes with the territory, really.
we'll also have all aching cheeks and everything because one thing that's also to be said is that Heather has the nickname of the RM Big Yin. Um,
Aye, the Billy Connolly of records management, yeah.
yeah. Um,
Which I love. And can I just say in that point, so the person who called me that was Professor Michael Mollis when I used to go to talk to the students at Glasgow University, who were in the department there for particular courses. And it was the lovely Michael that said that to me. And very, very sadly, he died a few months ago, and he's a real loss. And he was one of my inspirations and a big name out there. So I just wanted to kind of say
yeah.
thank you, Michael, and we're thinking of you, quite frankly. And the Billy Connolly thing actually got to the point of, because that's something else I do. I rewrite lyrics of songs to records management
I have
themes.
I have been part of this, and
Yes, indeed.
even
It's
today I'm like, oh
brilliant.
no, Heather.
So, for those of you who may or may not have heard of the Welly Boot song by Billy Connolly, so I rewrote the lyrics to the Records Management song, and just one line, I promise you. If it wasn't for your records, where would you be? You'd be in compliance breach because of poor policy. And I'm saying no more than that, but do you know, aye. So yeah, I go off in lots of deviations, which is probably partly why Michael called me the Billy Connolly of records
It's
management.
just keeping up with you is that it's sort of like, oh, there's so
Um,
much to be said.
I'm
Um, I'm really appreciative of everything you're saying. If we could just kind of have a look at some of the questions that I've
of
got.
course. Yes,
You've
sorry.
been answering a lot of them, but I wanted to make sure that we'd covered all the bits and pieces.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
I mean, if I just have to sit here and listen to you and you answer all my questions, great. Um,
I'll let you get back to structure because that's something I often lack, as I've just demonstrated. So over to you, Emily.
um, so you've talked a little bit already about sort of like your achievements, but what would you
Mm,
say over the career to date, that one specific achievement that really calls out to you and goes, you know what, I really like that was a pinnacle moment in your
oh
career?
gosh, pinnacle moment. It's quite hard. I mean, I suppose like one pinnacle moment which I was overwhelmed by was in 2008 when I was awarded Records Manager of the Year by the IRMS
Oh yeah.
or RMS at that time, which was quite an overwhelming kind of feeling. And obviously it was all down the hill from there. So that would probably one in terms of, if you like, kind of recognition. And I guess also being one of the first fellows of the RMS. But probably more broadly, it's not so much the pinnacles, but it is those examples I've given you where I know that I've made a difference so that the person actually deleting that thing she was never, ever, ever going to delete, those sorts of things.
I
Or
actually
I
had
did,
someone say to me once, you'll have to take them from my cold dead hands. And it's just like, all right. You know what, you can keep them.
yeah, this is a bit kind of scary. um, so yeah, so it tends to be more things like that. I suppose another time was when I got to do one of the keynotes at one of the IRMS conferences. Although I have to say that's one of the issues, and maybe it's when you watch yourself afterwards and you go, no, cringe. Although it wasn't so bad then because I was on a stage and I was dressed up and looked like vaguely businesslike. Obviously, latterly
I
doing
know which one
webinars,
that is. I think I know which one that is. Was it 2012?
it could have, my memory's gone. It
Um,
was maybe something like that.
I've got an image in my head of what you look like. You had a scarf on and a red top. There's a picture somewhere. I'll have to see if I can find it. Anyway, so what I like to address for especially people who are coming into the profession or not really that confident and things like that is around the fact that even the people that have been in the profession the longest or have made it up to being things like consultants or really high in the career in big places is
Sure.
that we've all made mistakes. And there's a question there. Is there anything in your career where you think I've just pressed the button, the implode button, my career is over, I'm done. I need to go and like sign up at the job centre later today. Kind of I just can't no.
Um,
Anything really that you'd say is not a mistake or maybe it didn't go as planned or
um, I suppose I can think of things where slowly but surely I finally think I've been learning some lessons, if you like. So I think one was assume nothing when you're working with people. A big part of what I like to do, and I don't know, yeah, a very, very quick leap back. So I now have my own information records management consultancy, which has been since 2003, and that's what I'm doing ever since. And the bit that I love most about what I do is it's about records management and information governance, managing your stuff to make the organization, the individuals in it, and the people they serve do what they do better, improve what they're doing, make working there a better place, and making what they need to deliver better, sort of better outcomes from that. And as part of that, it's very much about engaging with the people who are doing whatever job it is, because you're coming into some, because we talk about records management and information governance. The reality is you get into business process streamlining, you absolutely get into the culture of the organization and into kind of people's heads, because in fact I did a whole psychology of records management. I've got information characters that I bring out on a regular basis, and I would say in the early days it was that sometimes making an assumption that if I knew it everybody would know it, which isn't the case, and also quite often realizing that I would maybe think badly, or not badly, that's a no way of putting it. I would say, oh, see those IT people or see X or Y, they just assume that I know everything, and I don't know about that. And suddenly a light bulb went on one day when I went, Heather, you're doing that yourself. You're busy thinking, we should be explaining, don't use acronyms and don't assume anything of other people, and I'm doing that myself. So that was a big light bulb moment. I think another moment is I get overly excited and get carried away too much, and rather than just trying to get like a baseline bit. So I guess it's also holding my own self in check and make sure that I'm delivering for the client what they actually know that they want and they need just now, and also accepting that sometimes you're providing advice and guidance, but they don't have to take that advice and guidance. Um, and sometimes it is worth, I've not done it often, but sometimes it's worth walking away rather than keeping on trying to make stuff happen. And other times it's about making the compromises and knowing that down line the light bulbs were going at the next stage. I think that also gets back to the assume nothing stuff, and really
Yeah.
trying to
There's
join the dots in heads.
there's a key theme coming out of these sessions that I'm doing with people is all about learning and never stopping to learn.
Mm.
Is that even when you are long in the tooth, as some people might be, I'm not saying no names,
How, yeah,
but
yeah, I know what you're inferring there. I know 35 years in the business. Yes, that'll be me.
I did question actually whether I should be doing golden filers with you, but not quite there yet.
No, no, I think silver. I've got my silver hair and long hair since COVID. So I actually probably don't look anything like the photographs that people see of me. So yeah, sorry, get back to long in the tooth. The theme. Carry on.
The thing is that even people who have been in the profession for a long time, they need to remember to just not stop learning. That actually people new in the profession might have better things. I, for one, still do not. I don't know if anyone else do not understand blockchain.
No,
Um,
I'm with you there.
I I don't understand it. I don't get it, and I don't think I ever do. And to paraphrase Scott Salmon's with, it's voodoo. Voodoo.
Yeah,
That's all it is. Like whatever, voodoo. Like, and
yeah,
every time you try to talk to him about his is SEO, search engine optimization, he's like, it's voodoo. Um,
yeah.
that's as soon as someone mentions blockchain. So I would rather somebody new into the profession comes and tells me how blockchain's done, and I just do it rather than just assuming that I know stuff already. So I think that's a
Sure.
really key thing for a lot of people in the profession is that you never stop learning and never think I know everything. Um,
Yeah, can I just, because you've actually kind of done a wee light bulb in my head here. So one of the things that I've done, sometimes informally and sometimes slightly more formally, is do a little bit of a Oh, you blinked. I thought you'd frozen there, but you blinked, so that's fine. You're just sitting very still, unlike me. Sorry. So I will informally over the years and sometimes formally have kind of mentored people.
mhm.
Um, and I have to say, and I've always said to them, I get as much from them as hopefully they may be getting from me, because of that their different experiences. Sometimes those are people who are new to the profession and early in their career, and sometimes it's people who have made a career break or have suddenly found themselves with information stuff flung upon them as part of their job, particularly with things like freedom of information coming in and data protection and robust data protection or whatever it happens to be in small organizations. Um, So yeah, I find that experience has been really good because that's helped to keep me very aware of that stuff, and also how people can often they themselves don't realize just how much they know already. Um, so that's been a really useful thing. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Keep learning, and I think I touched on it earlier on. The more I do, the more I find out, the less I think I know. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you see the little bit of iceberg sticking out the ocean, you say,
Yeah.
okay, it's sticking out, I need to get it, but that's fathomable. And then you get to go deep dive, and it just keeps on going down. And that can be both exciting, because I always want to keep learning. I don't want to you get jaded and maybe judgmental and all stuff, and I do not ever want to be like that. Um, so it can be exciting, but also sometimes it can feel overwhelming unless you learn sometimes you have to focus in on what your differentiators and specialisms are and where it's best to kind of collaborate and team up with others, particularly now compared to when I started in this, because it's way more complex.
One of the things that so I have an RMS mentee, and I don't think she'll mind me saying this, but half of my time with her is spent dragging her out of her comfort zone, kicking and screaming. Come on,
Hmm.
let's do this. And she's like,
Yeah,
I'm like, come on, you can do it. So it's actually not actually sharing too much knowledge as such with her. It's more about making like the go do that. What about that?
yeah. And I think it can also be the reassurance because if maybe, and particularly because of the area that we're in, because in most organisations you're only you, or you've got a very small number of people that you're doing it with, and therefore you don't have the people to be able to be sounding boards of. Um, and so a lot of the time I find in these positions is about reassuring people that what they actually did and they weren't assumed was that actually the right thing to do was absolutely spot on.
There's also something coming out there as well is that I mean she also asks me questions and sometimes I just sit there and just go I don't bloody know why are you asking me and it's like well
Oh,
oh my mentor and I'm like doesn't mean I know.
and that is another. This is, oh no, will I tell you this? At some point, extremely early on in my career, I mean, very like when I was like almost a Wayne small child, but not quite. In an application form, told a lie. I said I'd been to somewhere and it was brilliant related to what the job I was going for was, and I hadn't, right? So the whole world now knows what is she like. But this is decades ago. Anyway, I'm in the interview and they say, so this place that you mentioned you went to, so what are the best parts of that? And I just went bright red and went, I haven't actually been there. So that was kind of the end of the interview and I didn't get the job. But that massively big and a big thing like obviously, don't put rubbish in your CV that you could get tripped up upon, but also always, always, always be very prepared to say that you don't know, or you don't know, but you'll find out, or work your network because that's the thing. We cannot know everything. I mean, increasingly we can't know that, but by the collaboration and the friendships that we get professionally, there will people that you could go to. And I think, and also I think it's reassuring for people earlier in their profession to say it's okay not to know. You go off and saying that and then going off and finding it out. And that's also what's so brilliant about things like this, what social
I,
media has done.
I see this as a strength of someone to go do you know what I don't know.
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
And you know, there's a I don't know, but I'll go and find someone who does, or how about you go and
Absolutely.
ask that person?
Yeah.
Because with the mentoring things, again, for anyone that's kind of thinking, should I get a mentor? A mentor is actually a really useful thing, even just as a bounce board.
Mm,
So I'm thinking this, does that sound right? Without the fear of like embarrassment of like launching this idea in front of a group of people and they're going, no, you're talking rubbish. Is that you've
absolutely.
got that confidence with a one-to-one person to do that kind
Yeah.
of thing. So I would say to any new person, particularly, well, not even necessarily just new people, but
Yeah.
people just wanting some kind of direction, is that a mentor is not actually a bad thing to consider having. Um,
Absolutely.
and it doesn't mean we're going to know all the answers from one mentor
Yeah.
to another, is that we're just like, we don't know half the stuff, do we, Heather?
Well, I'd say also the flip side of that is true. And if people want, because sometimes when you're approached to be a mentor, there's a bit that says, me, what do I have to offer in terms of being a mentor? Oh no, I couldn't do that. But absolutely, anyone that's thought about it thought, oh no, I can't possibly know enough. If people are approaching you about it, really consider it. And you can dip your toe in the water, and if it's not for you, so be it. But it's well worth trying. And it's so, I mean, it's massively rewarding, not least because, as I say, I feel I learn just as much as from the other person. So I think it's
Did you
definitely
ever have
brilliant.
a mentor?
Sorry,
Did you ever have a mentor
have I had mentors?
or people you've looked up to?
Um, I suppose, particularly again, but I can only keep talking about the RMS because I'm quite involved in that. But certainly getting to meet people and big names, if you like, through that. Or people like Michael Moss as an example. Or why are you
Yeah, you
laughing at
say
me?
big names and like Heather Love, you're one of them.
Well, see, that's that weird thing because I think, and again, maybe this is a common thing. I often feel a fraud. I'm just waiting to be found out. I mean, not least about the fact that um, obviously I was taken on to do kind of records management stuff, but I come from a more of a digital information background because of the organisation I work with. And so the traditional records management stuff I didn't know. And I felt that was right, I was kind of playing at it. The reality I've realised over a number of years is principles same, but a different approach needs to be taken. So I think that,
It's
yeah, I
that
hadn't seen
whole
it.
it's that whole idea when you look around for an adultier adult and you
An
realize that
adult, oh,
you're
that's a brilliant word.
adultier
Adultier. I
adult,
like that.
and you kind of just go, crap, it's only me, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I think I know lots of more adult adults than me. I like to think my kind of my childlike elements, whatever they are, have their endearing moments as well as driving people crazy.
I mean, there are moments where in my career, throughout our discussions we've had, I've gone, I need Heather. She'll make me feel better.
Oh, bless.
It's like, we're quick. Where is she? So yeah. I think it's just a thank you to you as well for just being who you are, because like I think
Mm.
there's an element to say there is that you are one of the big names in the society and the things that you've done, but there is also that it's a it's a thank you to you for being someone who is so approachable, because not
Oh,
everyone is.
mm.
Um,
I think that's maybe I'm aware that I think because I'm quite a people person, and well, and a show off. So things like doing the records management song, to the tune of the Welly Boot song, or whatever I happen to do, I kind of making people laugh and to certain. I try not to make them cry, but sometimes it's worth making them do that too. But there's not many people necessarily in the sphere of maybe more now, but I think people find that it's quite a refreshing approach. I think to turn people's heads lights on because I think they think records management information governance is boring, irrelevant, scary, or all three of those things. And what I try to do is, if only for as long as I need them to hit the delete button or do the shred, I can get them a bit excited and I'll do whatever it takes so long as it's legal to get them that way to do it. And I love it. I love doing that. And I love the fact that if I was only doing it for its own sake, it would bore my pants off and I just wouldn't do it at all, you know. It's just good to try and make a difference in this area. And I love the fact that most people find it really boring and awful because I just think you can make it dead exciting because it's at the heart of everything. It is like the air that we breathe, you know. We totally take it for granted until it's not there or it's honking, quite frankly. If you get my drift.
okay, that's brilliant. Let's have a look at the other questions. What has kept you going, Heather?
What keeps me going, and certainly this has been a big thing. I will never ever. I've had my moments running my own little one man, one person business when you think, oh, because you have to go in the work and everything else, and it can be scary because you don't have that, you don't have that stability. Although to be honest, in this day and age, nobody has that stability. I think what I love it's the variety. I like I like going in, help to sort out, then move on because I think if so, it's always moving on to new to new things, and particularly because the context that I love is taking the client situation and working out how I can help improve that through the knowledge and skills that I've got. So finding out about new things. I mean, one of the most mind-blowingly brilliant gigs that I had was when I had to work with one of the councils up in Scotland, and basically it was developing business classification scheme and retention schedule and all that beautiful stuff.
That's
I
got
basically, who knows what business classification scheme is in the retention schedule?
scars.
Oh, the scar stuff. So that was. I'll talk about scars in a wee minute. I suppose that's. I'll tell you that in a wee minute. So this council, I basically had to have sessions with every single medium functional area of the entire organisation, which is a, and they do a lot. They do so much at council, but it was just an amazing experience. Sometimes it was like your head was going to explode, but understanding the connections with them and everything else, it was a fascinating, interesting thing. Or when I did some work for an organisation that was doing a tidal and wind energy stuff, and I knew nothing. You need to know a little bit about the stuff because that gets the engagement with it. I love that. That'll be the dog. That's Maisie the dog nipping outside there. So the SCARS, yes, the SCARS, the Scottish Council and Archives Records Retention Schedule. This was a piece of work that I did along with Claire Johnson back around about 2009 to 11, something like that.
I
We were
feel like,
taking,
just before you carry on, I feel like this was one of the major things that made me sit up and listen and realize just who you were. So like when I think of Pinnacle, things of if I was to pick out one of the things that
mm,
made me think, wow, I want to be like Heather, is that. And
okay.
I don't know if that's kind of really gives you much justice as such because you've obviously done a lot of years and a lot of things, but
Mm.
in terms of like publication of stuff, because I saw a meme actually recently that was just like all my best work is done under NDA.
Whereas that was absolutely brilliantly, beautifully in the public domain. It was, I mean, it was quite a tough gig. So. Basically, the Scottish Council and Archives and organisation in Scotland, who are there very much representing the archives and records management community and doing all sorts of brilliant stuff. So they contracted myself and Claire to develop retention schedules for every possible function that a Scottish local authority could do, because basically it made lots of sense to do a collective piece of work, which then all the local authorities could be using as a base point. And and we chose to use the local government classification scheme that had been developed originally with the IRMS as a kind of structure, if you like, within that. Um, so we had focus groups for all the different functional areas, and a lot of it, and a key part was because often you see retention schedules and they only explicitly cover legislation which mentions retention at all. And quite often, and a hell of a lot of stuff, there's not that legislation that goes beyond that. So we had business requirement in there as a thing. So it was kind of more kind of comprehensive than might have been before. Um, so yes, I mean, I guess now you mention it, it is, because it is. I know it's well regarded. I mean, it's a starter for 10, and people can't
It's
just
still
put
being
it in there.
today, isn't it?
Oh, very much so. And I think we're kind of looking to, well, not myself, but it's evolving. I think the challenge is because retention schedules, you do need to understand what the kinds of records are that you should have and how long you keep them for, and it's very, very granular. It's obviously that's just one layer of your approach to retention, and to my mind, it's actually goes before retention. It's what you should be creating in the first place. So sometimes I think it'd be quite nice to rename that. Although now you're bringing together business classification schemes, retention schedules, and embedded in an information asset register. And potentially with your technology system and all that enterprise architecture stuff, then you get the holistic position of it. So it's not focusing right in on that kind of level. I kind of lost the plot there. What was I talking about there, Emily? Scars. Oh, aye. So it's nice to know that it's out there and it's still well regarded. But yeah, that was no, it's suddenly come back to me. There you go. I've got it. It's about how you then. It's one thing having a schedule and another thing actually implementing it. It's a bit like a policy. So it's taking that and how you do it in reality. particularly when there's no way that you can have 8,000 different retention rules sitting with any system, let alone a shared drive, which people do still have. Oh, they still
Yeah,
like
I
blinking
I would
filing
probably
cabinets,
say
man.
80% of them still have got shared drives.
We just keep adding to it. Now, I know we've got Teams. Woohoo!
Woo! Um,
Well, I think with all these things, often the technology gets it in the neck, and it's the human beings around it, and we're very bad at learning lessons. Because I remember those 2000 and early 2000s when we had the National Archives requirements for, I guess, records management systems, and I guess we still have it in MOREC. Um, and people spent lots and lots of money buying and attempting to implement these systems, and yet they were managing, in some cases, 0.0001% of all the stuff. And all the stuff needs to get managed. I mean, the irony is that, we're actually managing our final records really, really well, but it doesn't matter that it's a bit back to the iceberg. This wee tips the important stuff they need to be keeping. But actually, under the ocean that we've forgotten about is this mammoth, gigantic bit of gump that we don't need to have any longer.
yeah.
Quite into icebergs at the moment, actually. Decided that's my thing of the day.
I
Need
suppose
to think
funny
iceberg.
enough is earlier today on a Silver Filers we were talking about the Titanic, so it seems to be today's theme.
Oh,
Uh,
excellent. Yes, yes, indeed.
we were talking about Titanic. At the base of that was records and information management failure. I was like, oh, mind blown.
Well, if you think, I mean, it's like whenever because I'm sad this way, but every single film or whatever I'm watching television or whatever, on my phone,
Sit and watch
um,
records
uh,
and
uh,
management things because I do
they're
that.
in everything. But the thing is, it covers it's absolutely every single thing that's out there, because information is absolutely ubiquitous, like the air that we breathe. Um, but it's because it's done a kind of, it's back to doing the so what. It's all about the so what about records management and information governance, in my opinion. And the so what is what makes it blinking exciting.
If you could live your 35 years in information and records management all over again, would you?
Actually, yes, I would. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
And one thing I do want is recommendations from you for books, maybe. If there's any kind of or films, if you know them, like the ones. I mean, I like Erin Brockovich for a film for good about talking about information and records management.
In terms of kind of the resources stuff, I'm probably more into what I'm into. I mean, the latest, obviously, a big thing now is about trying to properly manage stuff in M365 and its iterations. I've got there's a good number of really good people out there that do brilliant blogs that are fantastic. So I think, yeah, there's a good
Who is those?
range. I guess people like Joanne Klein, like Andrew Warland, like Greg Zelfond, like Rob Bath. I hate doing this because you always worry that you're going to miss somebody brilliant out. So, but
If we miss them, I'm sure they won't take offense because it's just one of those things, and they may not even listen to this. Who knows?
I'm sorry, but the whole world's going to listen to this. It's going to be Netflix. I can see it as a series,
Oh God, oh God.
or
When
maybe not. Maybe not.
you're being my co-pilot if it goes on Netflix. Um,
I guess also, I mean, absolutely a member of AIM and ARMA and obviously RMS, and taking advantage of the resources that are provided there is really important. Um, and in particular, things like the records management disk list and the data protection ones, things like that. I think in some ways, I feel they're more valuable sometimes than the books are, because you're getting real world experiences, and people are hugely generous with their time, and we've got
I don't
that
know how
that
Peter Corellis does it. I don't know. I don't
oh
know how he
yeah.
manages to keep up with so much stuff posting to
I
the
know.
list. I just like there's always something pretty much every single day he's putting on there. It's like, how do you keep up with this? Like,
I know. Another brilliant guy in Scotland is Ian Flett. I mean, a lot of the stuff he does is archival stuff, but he does other stuff too. And I love people that it's yeah, they're just gold dust. Big hugs to those to all those that put that stuff out there. because it's very, very valuable and
I've got a couple of
fab
silly
to
questions
do.
for you, Heather, as we start to wrap up this. If you
Yes. Oh, I'm going to be slipping down here. Sorry. If you
could,
get my chin back, here you go.
if you could swap a career without having to retrain, so kind of go in at the same level you are now, and do a different career, what would you pick?
Mm.
I don't know if she's frozen or she's really thinking hard.
Ooh, what would I pick? I think it would. I think it would be something in history. Oh, my internet connection's unstable. Have
Yeah,
you lost me?
you
Are you
froze on
still
a
hearing
really
me?
weird face and like with your tongue sticking out. It was a bit.
I have a really weird face. Always.
Yeah, but
That's not a good sight.
your tongue was sticking
It would
out.
probably be. Eh?
Your tongue was sticking
I
out.
can't help it. I've got a big tongue. um, it would be. Oh, good. I hope people appreciate. It's like my children and now my grandchildren. I let them know why they should brush their teeth because I let them see inside my mouth and they freak out. Not that I'm going to let you see my teeth. So the fact you've only seen my tongue is a good thing. Anyway, what would I do? I would be in history and I would be creating a virtual reality stuff to bring it all to life and work with kids to make it good and exciting. It would definitely would be a history thing. I would think, yeah. There you
And
go.
if you were stranded on an island and you could only take one
Yes.
person with you that is in the industry, who would it be?
Oh, no way. Oh, that's a really, really unfair question. Can I take two people?
If you smuggle one of them.
Can I? Can I take two people?
Okay.
Okay. I'm not saying who we smuggled and who wouldn't, but it would be Liz Taylor and Frank Rankin. They are fabby do people. And I'm very lucky now to be doing a bit of collaborative stuff with them. And they're fab. I love them. That's who.
Well, we'll have to let them
They
know.
might not want me. I suspect what they would do is they would get on the desert island and then drown me. So you've got the two people, but one of them would be me.
So, which one of you gonna eat each other first? You've ran out of food. Who are you gonna pick?
Just die. Well, they could pick me. That would be fine. Not that I particularly want them to eat me.
And
And
the very
I
last,
don't like that thought at all. That's not good. Yes.
it's hilarious
Yes.
nonetheless. And the very last silly question, before we say goodbye, is carrot
Yes.
for a nose or lettuce for ears?
Sorry, I didn't hear you because I had a slight dip there. Repeat.
Carrot for nose or lettuce for ears? You got to pick one of them.
Letters for ears.
Why?
Letters for ears. Because it just sounds better. It just does. I like the alliteration. Letters for ears just has got lots of E's and R's and things in it. I don't actually know what it actually means, but yeah, no. Letters for ears just jumped up and down and said, pick me, and that's why I picked it.
It's like lettuces in the salad for ears. Like, okay, fair enough. I've asked a couple of people this
Okay.
random question. And it just what I love the most is how much it sideswipes you because it's just like ooh um um I
And I
don't.
think that's why I just picked one because I hadn't had a Scooby what it was about, and it just letters for ears did it for me. And maybe I might make it a thing.
It's just really stupid, Heather. I just wanted to end with something
No,
really stupid because I can.
I like that. I like stupid. Yeah, I like stupid myself. It's highly underrated.
As we wrap this up, I just want to say a big thank you to you for coming on and talking with me today. Is there anything else you'd like to say to listeners um, that you think you might have missed? You're probably going to think of 1,000 things when we hang up.
Um, well, first of all, just to say thank you very much for inviting me, and I've enjoyed it. Um, I don't know if I've missed anything else, but basically, people feel free to reach out and give me a hug when we can. But beyond that, yeah, I'm out there and happy to have a gab or whatever else. And if anyone's thinking about this as a career or anything else,
Well,
ping
if you're
ping
okay,
me. I believe that's the way you say it.
I'll
Just
leave your
ping me.
details in the section below, and people can reach out on
Super
your
duper.
yeah. etc., and come and find you at events when they know that you're back on. And I'll
Yes,
hopefully
indeed.
see you at IRMS conference when it finally happens.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
but yes, I hope you're well, and I shall see you soon. Thank you very much.
Righty ho. Thank you very much. I've loved it, Emily. Goodbye, everybody.